Okay, so it's time for another video. As you saw by the title, let's talk about Friday the 13th. We had Friday the 13th just this Friday, right? And in our culture, in our Western culture, which is, the rational culture, the culture that doesn't believe in anything irrational, if you like, the culture that sneers at anything spiritual, God forbid that you should listen to your dreams or to your intuitions or anything like that. The title reads of today's video is How the Patriarchy Stole Friday the 13th from women and made it evil. Now, before I read an article that I shared regarding this, I want to talk about the system of patriarchy. The system of patriarchy is really elites ruling for the elites. So for centuries, it was to do with men ruling over women. Now, of course, there are more women coming into their own power, and more women are actually coming into government, into power. And these women that are coming into power are just as selfish, self-centered, narcissistic, living in their own bubble, whether it is the neoliberal bubble or the conservative bubble, and don't care about the rest of the community. They only care about their own, holding on to power, their own little clique, their own group, and really couldn't care less about anybody else. So this is what I mean about patriarchy. It's a system that has evolved into this elite clique of elites running the world for elites. This used to be the feudal system, but now it's become it still wears the name of patriarchy because it is unbalanced in a way that it favors men over women. Like I said so many times, women in our Western culture, especially in our three religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, according to the Old Testament, she's blamed for our fall from paradise. She ate of the apple. By the way, Eve gave apple to Adam on Friday. See? So Friday is a very, very important. I'll go into the symbology of Friday in a moment. And number 13. So women are to this day blamed. It's not openly talked about, of course, but it's still there in the background in our psyche, according to our traditions, according to our religion. Yeah, that's why women are to be oppressed, because it's her fault that we're here on Earth, and Earth is only just on a way back to paradise, if you like. If you read into this story, into this mythology. So these women that are coming into power now, because women have been oppressed for thousands of years, they are so grateful to be included in the club, finally, that they literally will do anything to hold on to power. My dog is, she wants to go for a walk. Will do literally anything to hold on to power. So that means that she will play along, doing what she's told. She's not free or autonomous. She's just grateful to be included in the club, finally. So she will do anything to hold on to power. And we see that in politics. We see that in the current U.S. election cycle, in European Union, especially in the Western politics, because women are being brought into Western politics for these reasons, because they are quite easy to be managed, if you like. You just need to understand the psychology, why and why a woman was oppressed and what she will do to join the club. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to get out of the way first, that there is this, that when I'm speaking about patriarchy, I don't mean men only. Women are just as narcissistic and you know, only our own little tribe, club, and to hell with others. So, but the title of today's video is how the patriarchy stole Friday the 13th from women and made it evil. Now, when we're talking about how they stole it from women, we're talking about the feminine. We're talking about the feminine energy, and the feminine energy is your life force, your libido, which when is sublimated, it's turned inward to your own inner visions, to your own dreams, and it's beautified, if you like. So lust turn to love, yeah, power into poetry, yeah, aggression into art. So when that is turned inward, you are incubating it, you're holding on to it, not losing it so easy, your life force, your libido. It turns and starts to give you the energy of intuition. So you become a psychic. So that's what that means when I'm talking about the feminine energy or the feminine. You become intuitive. You become like a talented psychic, really. So you can tell, you know, you have answers that you wanted directly from within yourself. You become creative, really creative. I've spoken about this many times. You might begin to write art, or you might begin to paint, or you might begin have the need to be, you know, you have a lot of energy, and that energy needs to go into somewhere. Some people go gardening, some people go sculpting, some people dance and have to have the body move. You know, your body starts to communicate to you, and you have to use your hands in some way to put it into practice, into practical use. For me, it's always been writing and painting. Now I'm actually doing the video, so there's another way of putting that energy, that creative, that intuitive feminine energy into practice. Some way that I can communicate what I know, what the insights that have been communicated to me through it, to others. So let's go about, let's read this article, and I'll comment like I normally do about it along the way as I read. So here we go. Before Friday the 13th became associated with bad luck and the horror movie franchise that refuses to die, it used to be considered a powerful day of celebrating feminine energy. Yes, I'll tell you what the 13 number means and Friday in a moment, because it's important to understand. It's a language of the soul. It's a language of the feminine, you know, so you understand why it's important. I'll just read the article first. Both Friday and the number 13 have been twisted to carry negative connotations, according to Gina Spriggs, a North Carolina-based futurist and holistic intuitive. She blames patriarchal religions for this. One myth typically associated with the number 13, she explains, indicates someone dies within a year after eating at a table with 12 other people. This stems from the Last Supper, you know, the painting of Jesus eating with the 12 apostles. The painting got its name because Jesus Christ died shortly after. Now, so we go into this. So we go into mythology. So we go into the language of the soul, the symbology, the symbols, why it's important. So number 13. Number 13, you had 12 apostles, yeah, and the 13th is Jesus. He's the center. He's the inner self. So you have 12. 12 is the number of physical reality. You have 12 months of the year, which is a solar year. You have 12 to a dozen, yeah? So 12 is the visible reality, the things that you can see with your eyes every day, your ego, let's say. But the 13th is the one beyond, one step beyond. That is when the ego ends, for instance, your physical ends, and the intuitive, the spiritual begins. So you have 12 apostles, and the one around which it all revolves, the center, the Jesus, which is your inner self. You can compare that as well to King Arthur's round table. You had 12 knights around the table, and what was in the center? What showed in the center? The Grail. So the Grail is the 13th, the intuitive part in you. So when the rational mind ends, the intuitive mind begins. When the learned knowledge ends, the irrational knowledge, or the intuitive, the feminine knowledge begins. We call it the intuition, we call it feminine intuition. So that's the meaning of the 13. I'll go into 13 a little bit more from Wikipedia, the symbology. There's a lot to 12 and 13. Both numbers are important in our human culture. Yeah. So I'll read a little more. Now, regarding Friday, she continues, this is the day of week that Eve allegedly offered forbidden fruit to Adam. I said that, yeah? Okay. Friday was also the day that Adam was kicked out of paradise, the day he repented, the day he died, and the day he was cremated, and it was on Friday, Good Friday, that Jesus was killed. Friday is the end of the week, the end of the working life. So symbolically, this is where the ego ends, your outside concerns end, and your inner concerns, the intuitive concerns, begin. Because both Saturday and Sunday, Saturday is the day of Saturn, and Sunday is the day of the sun. So you go into a time where it's Sunday, especially sun nowadays is symbolic of intuition, of the feminine. What is associated with the masculine because being a solar, because it lights up our during the day, lights up our day. But in some cultures, like in Indian Hindu culture, sun is associated with intuition. So Friday cuts off. This is where the learned knowledge ends and the intuitive knowledge begins. When you finish the work of your concerns of everyday life, and the inner concerns begin. Friday is also associated with the goddess, Norse goddess Freya. And Freya was the consort of Odin, you see, and it was she that taught Odin Seder, or magic. So in other words, Friday is the day of the feminine, when the feminine begins, when the intuition begins, when your psychic powers come. So the ego ends and your psychic powers come, yeah? So the working day ends and your inner life of the how can I explain? Of the day of the goddess begins. The masculine world ends, the outside, and the inner world of the feminine begins. So that is associated with Friday, so Freya, yeah? Okay, so... But before Christianity came along, Friday the 13th was a very powerful day for feminine energy and creativity. Like I said, once you recover your inner self, once you recover your connection to the inner self, to your, to your inner goddess, to Freya, to the intuition, the inner self doesn't need to be only feminine in your dreams. It can be masculine. For men, it is going to be masculine. A lot of times it's going to be masculine because men are male. So I've had many dreams where the inner self presents itself as male, especially older male or a child. A child because it hasn't yet, it's not active participant in society, so its mind, it's not divided yet, you see, it's not divided from the inner life. And an older person, especially old man, archetype of the old man, because he has already left society and his mind has recovered the inner connection to the inner self, especially a bearded man, symbol of eternity and so on, like we have, for instance, with Father Christmas, yeah. So for men, and for women, it's both. But it's both male and female. But archetypally, the feminine is, the image is a woman. She's always been there. She's been there, long before the Neolithic age when the Maria Gimbutas discovered the old Europe, and she discovered the culture of the goddess of the feminine, which goes all the way back to the old Stone Age, Paleolithic. You can see that in the caves, the images that we see in the caves, the old paintings, the old drawings. So it goes into sculptures. It goes all the way back there. You got the animals, then you've got the objects, the stones, and so on. But these are the images of the vagina, the ancient, very old, thousands of years older than the patriarchy images of male god. There were women. There was the mystery out of which it was the channel, the portal out of which life came. Woman's womb. She is the image, the symbolic image of the mediator, the feminine, through which life comes and through which it goes. This is Eve giving apple to Adam and saying, eat. This is, your feminine, your intuition giving you insights. Through women comes, a new life, new insights, if you like, into this dimension, physical dimension. That's why she has a womb. We don't, as men. Okay, but before Christianity came along, Friday the 13th was a very, very powerful day for feminine energy and creativity, writes Tanuz Chab, an LA-based intuitive behind the website Forever Conscious. Before patriarchal times, Friday the 13th was considered the day of the goddess. It was considered a day of worship the divine feminine that lives in us all, and honored the cycles of creation and death and rebirth. It lives in us all. If you go beyond your personal unconscious, the things I want, the things I'm planning for, my family, my work, my car, my ambitions, my watching the sport, that's the personal unconscious. If you go beyond that, you go to the collective unconscious, the deeper. I've spoken about this and I made videos about this. When you go to the collective unconscious level, the symbols are different, the story is different, the mythology is different. It doesn't refer to you so much, but to all of us. And in there you see the images, the oldest images, if you were to dig deep, like I said, into the caves and so on, the collective unconscious of humanity, the images of the feminine are women. The images are feminine, you see. But it lives in all of us. This image still lives in all of us. Look at my paintings. Look at the covers of my books. All of them have women on them as a center stage, at the center stage. I painted the big one I painted in 96. The smaller ones, the covers on my book, I painted in 91. I didn't know anything about the feminine. I didn't know anything about the goddess or the whole mythology for that matter. It just came through me. Many artists where the feminine just comes, and it's the image is not a male, it's a woman. See? But that's the collective unconscious. Spriggs agrees, adding, 13 is a feminine number, representing the average number of a woman's cycle in a year. It is also the number 2 of annual cycles of the moon, viewed by the earth-based religions as female. Exactly. The cycles of the sun, our cycle around the sun is 12 months. So that's the rational mind. Symbology of the sun is the rational mind, the visible world. But the moon is feminine. It has 13 cycles. So there's number 13. And the same in a woman, and woman's menstrual cycle, her womb, is in tune not to the sun but to the moon. And the moon, when do we see the moon? We see the moon during night. So the mystery and magic of the night is feminine. That is to say, what do you do at night? You dream. You see? We even call it nightlife. And what do we do at nightlife? We dance and we drink. We go beyond what we do during the day, the rational, the egocentric things that we have to do. At night, we live, you could say, because you live in your dreams, and you live, for instance, if you go nightlife, if you drink too much, you don't care, you're spontaneous. You see what I'm saying? So that's important to know. So moon is feminine, sun is masculine. Yeah. Okay, so this is, a woman was considered they embodied divine and magical powers. When she got her period, Chubb explained, she was regarded by all for her wisdom and ability to offer intuitive and psychic messages. Exactly. It was only when society became more patriarchal that women were made to feel shame when they were having their periods, and to ignore their amazing potential to create and hold space for new life. This attitude has helped to contribute to the idea that the Friday the 13th is an unlucky day. Yes, this plus, of course, the fact that when the male priests started to take over from the feminine, some about, say, 3,000-4,000 years ago, especially in the in Jewish tradition, some about 600, 800 BC, the priest, the Deuteronomist priest that destroyed the temples where with the goddess Asherah, because before, in the Old Testament, before the male priest took over, Yahweh had a wife, had a consort, and she was just as equally important as him, Asherah. And then they destroyed her groves, destroyed her statues, erased her from the books and from the scriptures. So that's when it began, the persecution of Friday the 13th, if you like, the feminine energy, the direct energy to the direct ability to receive answers, to receive wisdom, insights in your dreams and visions, and intuitively, especially becoming a psychic. They got rid of it because they wanted to hold on to power. If you have your own access to this, you don't need the priesthood. And without the priesthood, they can't have the power and prestige. So I've spoken about this before. Yeah. So instead of cowering in your closet, in fear of what today might bring, Spriggs suggests celebrating Venus, the goddess of love, and all the good energy Friday the 13th can offer. Wear pink. It could be pink underwear, buy pink flowers, light a pink candle, drink rose petal tea, or carry rose quartz. Okay, well, pink is fine, but pink, not everyone likes pink. I would say intuition, the feminine energy, is mostly the color of blue. Archetypally speaking, is blue. So, for instance, I remember in my own life when I had a blue car. My first car was blue, my second car was blue, my third car was blue. I didn't make that, it wasn't a conscious decision. It just happened spontaneously. And these cars were always the best cars I ever had. And then I didn't know about any of this. And a car is a symbol of your intuition, or your mystic vehicle. So it gets you from where you want to go, from where you are to where you want to go. That's intuition as well. And it's your own way of getting there. Public transport is your getting there, what you're told, how you're told, or how it's mapped out for you by society. Bus, train, tram, yeah? Your own private vehicle is your own private mystic vehicle, symbolically speaking. And blue is the color of intuition. Like I said, the dream, remember the dream I shared with you when my ex-wife was walking through the desert and she met a burning bush, and the flame was blue. Before she climbed the mountain, the flame was blue. So that's the really color of the symbology of the feminine energy. The reason it's blue because we associate blue with the sky, and it is in the sky that we have associated now with heaven, or with your center, with your most inward center being blue. The flame is blue. Yeah. Okay. For more stories like this, okay, so we're coming to an end. Let me just have a look. Okay, My mother always told me that something good always happened to her on Friday the 13th. She continues, on this day, with goddesses' energies doubled, consider the lucky blend of just the right conditions, chemistries, elements and energies, and you want and work your own magic. Exactly. It's not an unlucky number, it's a lucky number. I was born on a house number 13 on my street. 13. So, and you could say, okay, I'm intuitive. I was born that way. When I was small, I used to rub my mother's nose before I could fall asleep, or suck onto a corner of the duna, or the blanket. The corner is your two sides that come together, and the nose is the nose that knows. That's your intuition. You're born that way. You can't help it. And the number 13 house, using blue cars. My favorite color is blue, although I usually wear black nowadays, but it's blue. All these symbols, if you begin to understand the symbology of this feminine, of the collective unconscious, you will be amazed how many things just happen spontaneously. Look at the color that she's wearing, the dress there. In the camera it shows green, but it's more blue. It's actually more blue. It's blue and green. So it's your above and below, blue sky and green earth. You see? And the lamp that she's wearing in the painting, it's pink. And didn't she say that, the Friday the 13th is associated with pink? And isn't it associated with the lamp that that the feminine has for you, the lamp that lights the way for you in everything? And you don't see it perhaps on the cover on the first book on the left there, where we dream the single dream. But the woman that's standing on the platform looking at the pyramids, she wears a blue hat. I didn't know anything about blue. And the blue woman that is walking, see the bridge, the checkered bridge across to which she's walking into the center, into the temple. She wears a blue dress. Yeah. So there's the how the patriarchy stole Friday the 13th from women and made it evil. It's not evil. It's been made evil by the institution, especially by the church, because the feminine power is forbidden. It was forbidden for many, many, many centuries. Because, like I said, if you had your own connection, private connection, intuitive connection, vision connection, dream connection, to the divine, to the source, to give you the answers, to give you insights directly, you had access to God. And that was not allowed. It was not allowed because if you can do it yourself, what's the point of the church? They're not needed. So that took away their power, their prestige, right? Yeah. So again, 13 is the 12, the physical around which the one in the center around which everything rotates, the self, the inner self, the 13th. The 13th warrior, there's a movie, The 13th Warrior, which was not meant to be Norse. He was meant to be from another distant country. In the movie it's an Arab country. But the 13th warrior, is not part of the 12 pack. He's not the same. He's different. He's from a foreign country, from a different country. That is your inner self. Yeah, or Christ, 12 apostles, and He's the center around which everything revolves. That's your 13. That's your intuitive. That's the feminine power. And the feminine power is not only in women, also in men. I mean, look at me. And it's sad to see. Let me have a look at the time. It's sad to see that so many men are still ignoring it. We have that. We have that ability. I've talked about this, how to do it. Just, incubate your energy, become more creative, and it will come. Or just start reading and things will come between words, make a little poem. But men, it's sad to see, but education has really killed our own inner feminine. So that's why I'm doing these videos. So maybe some men are watching them, might get inspired to do what I do as well and help the world to move on, become more autonomous, independent, grow more mature. Because the maturity is when you stop living in the maze, in the red maze of society, and you have your own independent life, autonomous life, led from within you, from the insights that you get directly from your feminine energy. From Friday the 13th, if you like. Okay? So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.